December 4th, 1791, 11:55 p.m. A modest apartment at 970 Rehensteingasse, Vienna. The greatest musical genius in human history lies dying at the age of 35. His body ravaged by a mysterious illness that has baffled physicians and sparked conspiracy theories for centuries. Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart, whose divine melodies have enchanted European courts and whose operas have revolutionized musical theatre, whispers instructions for completing his Requiem Mass as his wife Constanza weeps beside his deathbed. In his fevered final hours, does he comprehend that his bloodline carries within it a genetic legacy of musical brilliance that stretches back through generations of craftsmen, musicians, and scholars whose accumulated talents have converged to create the most extraordinary artistic mind the world has ever witnessed? The paternal lineage of Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart traces its roots deep into the Holy Roman Empire's complex network of German-speaking territories, where the Mozart family established themselves as skilled craftsmen and minor civil servants during the turbulent 17th century. The earliest documented ancestor was Heinrich Mozart, born around 1620 CE in the Swabian region of southwestern Germany, during the devastating 30 Years' War that would reshape Central European society and create the political landscape that would define German culture for centuries. Heinrich worked as a stonemason and builder, trades that provided steady income and social respectability within the rigid, hierarchical structure of Holy Roman Empire society, where skilled artisans occupied crucial positions between the aristocracy and agricultural laborers. Heinrich's professional expertise in construction and architectural decoration reflected the family's inherent understanding of spatial relationships, geometric principles, and aesthetic harmony that would later manifest as extraordinary musical abilities in his descendants. His work on several Augsburg churches during the 1650s brought him into contact with the sophisticated artistic and cultural environments surrounding religious institutions, where music, architecture, and visual arts combined to create transcendent spiritual experiences. This exposure to high artistic standards and complex aesthetic principles established family traditions of cultural engagement and appreciation for refined craftsmanship that would influence Sittemart family values for generations. The social and economic advancement of the Mozart family accelerated during the late 17th century through Heinrich's son, David Mozart, born around 1650 CE in Augsburg, one of the Holy Roman Empire's most prosperous commercial and cultural centers. David inherited his father's construction skills while developing additional expertise in metalworking and precision toolmaking, crafts that required exceptional manual dexterity, mathematical understanding, and attention to minute details. His workshop became renowned throughout the Augsburg region for producing high-quality tools and mechanical devices, establishing the family's reputation for technical excellence and innovative problem-solving. David's marriage to Maria Salzar in 1675 united two artisan families whose shared commitment to craftsmanship and cultural refinement created an intellectually stimulating environment for their children. Maria brought to the marriage not only her family's traditions of skilled needlework and textile production, but also their connections to Augsburg's musical community, where her relatives had served as church musicians and instrument makers for several generations. This convergence of technical precision from the Mozart lineage and musical sensitivity from the Salzar family created the genetic and cultural foundation for the extraordinary artistic abilities that would emerge in their descendants. The musical talents that would eventually culminate in Wolfgang's genius first appeared recognizably in David's son, Johann Georg Mozart, born on September 14, 1679. During the reign of Leopold I, when the Habsburg monarchy was establishing its cultural dominance throughout Central Europe, Johann Georg demonstrated exceptional musical aptitude from early childhood, quickly mastering several instruments while displaying an intuitive understanding of musical theory and composition that distinguished him from other young musicians in Augsburg's competitive, artistic environment. His parents recognized his extraordinary abilities and invested considerable resources in providing him with advanced musical education that would enable him to pursue a professional musical career. Johann Georg's musical education under the direction of Augsburg's cathedral musicians exposed him to the sophisticated polyphonic traditions of German church music, while also introducing him to the emerging Gallant style that was revolutionizing European musical aesthetics during the early 18th century. His mastery of organ, violin, and clavichord, combined with his growing expertise in musical composition and theory, established him as one of the most promising young musicians in the region. However, economic pressures and family responsibilities prevented him from pursuing the international career that his talents might have supported, limiting his musical activities to local church positions and private teaching. The decision by Johann Georg to pursue bookbinding as his primary profession while maintaining musical activities as a secondary occupation reflected the practical realities facing even exceptionally talented musicians in early 18th century Germany, where musical careers required either aristocratic, patronage, or ecclesiastical positions that were extremely competitive and often poorly compensated. His bookbinding workshop in Augsburg became successful enough to support his family comfortably while allowing him to continue musical activities that provided both personal satisfaction and modest additional income through teaching and occasional performances. Johann Georg's marriage to Anna Maria Salza in 1708 represented more than a personal relationship. It was a strategic alliance between two families, whose combined musical traditions and artisanal skills created the optimal environment for nurturing exceptional artistic talents in their children. Anna Maria's family had produced several generations of musicians and instrument makers whose expertise in acoustic principles and mechanical precision complemented the Mozart family's emerging musical abilities. Their wedding celebration featured elaborate musical performances that demonstrated both families' commitment to artistic excellence and cultural refinement. The birth of Johann Georg Leopold Mozart on November 14, 1719, in Augsburg marked the arrival of the individual who would become the father, teacher, and primary influence on Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart's artistic development. Leopold's childhood was immersed in music from his earliest days, as his father's workshop doubled as a music room where instruments, musical manuscripts, and bookbinding materials coexisted in an environment that celebrated both intellectual and artistic pursuits. The young Leopold's exposure to sophisticated musical discussions, regular performances, and constant experimentation with various instruments created the foundation for his later achievements as both performer and pedagogue. Leopold's exceptional musical abilities became apparent during his youth as he mastered violin, organ, and composition with a remarkable facility while also demonstrating unusual analytical intelligence and pedagogical instincts that would later make him one of Europe's most respected music teachers. His formal education at the Jesuit gymnasium in Augsburg provided him with classical learning, linguistic skills, and philosophical training that broadened his intellectual horizons, while reinforcing his musical studies with comprehensive cultural knowledge. This combination of musical genius and scholarly education prepared him for a career that would bridge the gap between practical musicianship and theoretical understanding. The decision to pursue university studies at Salzburg's Benedictine University in 1737 marked Leopold's transition from provincial German musical training to exposure to the sophisticated international musical culture that flourished in this major ecclesiastical center. Salzburg's position as an independent archbishopric within the Holy Roman Empire made it a crucial meeting point for musical influences from Germany, Austria, Italy, and France, providing Leopold with exposure to diverse musical styles and performance traditions that would profoundly influence his later teaching methods and compositional approach. Leopold's enrollment in philosophy and jurisprudence studies reflected both his family's respect for formal education and his own recognition that musical careers required broad intellectual preparation as well as technical skill. However, his increasing involvement in Salzburg's musical life, including performances with university musical organizations and private teaching of aristocratic students, gradually convinced him that his primary talents and interests lay in music rather than law or philosophy. This shift in career focus represented a crucial decision that would determine not only his own future but also the cultural environment in which his son, Wolfgang, would develop. The appointment of Leopold Mozart as fourth violinist in the Salzburg Court Orchestra in 1743 marked the beginning of his professional musical career and his family's permanent establishment in the cultural environment that would nurture Wolfgang's genius. The Salzburg court, under Archbishop Leopold Anton von Firmian, maintained one of Europe's finest musical establishments, attracting talented musicians from throughout the continent while providing stable employment and opportunities for artistic development that were rare in 18th century musical life. Leopold's position offered both financial security and artistic stimulation, while placing him at the center of a musical community that valued innovation and excellence. The maternal ancestry of Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart traces back to the Pertl family, whose origins lie in the Alpine regions of Austria, where they established themselves as skilled craftsmen and minor officials during the late 17th century. The earliest documented ancestor was Wolfgang Nikolaus Pertl, born around 1667 CE near St. Gilgen in the Salzburg region, who worked as a carpenter and occasional surveyor for local landowners and ecclesiastical institutions. Wolfgang Nikolaus possessed exceptional mathematical abilities and spatial intelligence that enabled him to advance from simple carpentry to complex architectural and engineering projects that required sophisticated technical knowledge and precise execution. Wolfgang Nikolaus's son, Johann Baptist Pertl, born on January 24, 1696, continued the family tradition of skilled craftsmanship while expanding their social and economic status. Through strategic career advancement within Salzburg's administrative hierarchy, Johann Baptist's work as a legal clerk and minor court official brought him into contact with the educated professional classes while providing his family with a steady income and social respectability. His meticulous attention to detail and reputation for honesty earned him gradual promotions within the bureaucratic system, demonstrating the family's capacity for sustained advancement through merit and dedication. The marriage of Johann Baptist Pertl to Eva Rosina Altmann in 1720 united two families whose shared values of education, social advancement, and cultural refinement created an environment conducive to developing exceptional abilities in their children. Eva Rosina brought to the marriage her family's traditions of literacy, religious devotion, and domestic management skills that complemented the Pertl family's administrative expertise and technical abilities. Their household became known for its intellectual atmosphere and cultural sophistication, attracting visitors from Salzburg's educated, professional, and artistic communities. The birth of Maria Anna Pertl on December 25, 1720, on Christmas Day, in St. Gilgen, marked the arrival of the woman who would become Wolfgang Amadeus, Mozart's mother, and a crucial influence on his character and artistic development. Anna Maria's childhood in the Pertl household exposed her to sophisticated cultural discussions, musical performances, and intellectual pursuits that were unusual for women of her social class in early 18th century Austria. Her parents' commitment to providing their daughter with education and cultural opportunities reflected their progressive attitudes and their recognition of her exceptional intelligence and artistic sensitivity. Anna Maria's education included not only domestic skills considered essential for women of her era, but also literacy, basic mathematics, musical training, and exposure to literature and religious texts that broadened her intellectual horizons and prepared her for participation in sophisticated cultural environments. Her musical abilities, while not professional in scope, included competent keyboard playing and an exceptional ear for musical quality. that would later prove crucial in recognizing and nurturing her son's extraordinary talents. Her combination of practical intelligence, cultural sophistication, and artistic sensitivity made her an ideal partner for an ambitious musician seeking to advance his career and establish a musical dynasty. The courtship and marriage between Leopold Mozart and Maria Anna Pertl in 1747 represented the convergence of two family traditions that had independently cultivated the intellectual, artistic, and social qualities necessary for producing exceptional musical genius. Their wedding ceremony in Salzburg Cathedral reflected both families' social status and cultural aspirations, while establishing a household that would become the center of one of history's most remarkable musical educations. The combination of Leopold's professional musical expertise and Anna Maria's cultural sophistication created the optimal environment for nurturing extraordinary artistic talents in their children. The early years of Leopold and Anna Maria's marriage were marked by both professional advancement and personal tragedy as Leopold's career in the Salzburg court orchestra progressed while the couple experienced the death of several children in infancy, a common experience in 18th century families, but nonetheless devastating for parents who longed to create a musical dynasty. These losses intensified their determination to provide exceptional care and education for their surviving children while reinforcing their appreciation for the precious nature of life and talent. The birth of Maria Anna Walburga Ignatia Mozart, known as Nanor, on July 30th, 1751, brought joy to the household while providing the first indication of the extraordinary musical talents that ran in the family bloodline. Nanor's precocious musical abilities became apparent in early childhood, as she demonstrated exceptional facility with keyboard instruments and remarkable musical memory that enabled her to learn complex pieces with minimal instruction. Her rapid progress under her father's instruction revealed both her inherited musical gifts and Leopold's exceptional abilities as a music teacher. Nanor's musical education served as both a source of family pride and a preparation for Wolfgang's even more intensive training, as Leopold developed and refined his pedagogical methods through his work with his daughter. Her public performances as a child prodigy established the Mozart family's reputation for musical excellence, while providing practical experience in concert presentation and audience management that would prove invaluable when Wolfgang's career began. The success of Nanor's musical development convinced Leopold that exceptional musical education could produce remarkable results and prepared him for the even greater challenges of nurturing Wolfgang's genius. The birth of Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart on January 27, 1756, in Salzburg represented the culmination of generations of genetic and cultural preparation that had created the optimal conditions for producing history's greatest musical genius. The child who emerged from this convergence of bloodlines inherited not only exceptional musical abilities, but also the intellectual capacity, cultural sophistication, and family support necessary for developing those abilities to their fullest potential. His birth occurred during a period of unprecedented cultural flowering in European music, when the Baroque tradition was evolving toward the classical style that would provide the perfect medium for his artistic expression. The earliest indications of Wolfgang's extraordinary musical abilities appeared during his third year, when he began demonstrating perfect pitch, exceptional musical memory, and an intuitive understanding of harmonic relationships that astonished even his musically sophisticated family. His spontaneous improvisations at the keyboard revealed not only technical facility, but also creative imagination and structural understanding that typically required years of formal training to develop. These early manifestations of genius convinced Leopold that his son possessed abilities that required immediate and intensive cultivation to reach their full potential. Leopold's decision to dedicate his life to Wolfgang's musical education represented both an act of paternal devotion and a strategic recognition that his son's talents were so extraordinary that they demanded complete commitment and sacrifice from the entire family. The systematic program of instruction that Leopold developed for Wolfgang combined rigorous technical training with exposure to diverse musical styles, performance opportunities, and cultural experiences that would provide the broadest possible foundation for artistic development. This educational approach reflected Leopold's understanding that genius required not only natural ability but also comprehensive knowledge and practical experience to achieve its full expression. The family's first concert tour in 1762, when Wolfgang was only 6 years old, marked the beginning of his emergence as a European celebrity and the start of a traveling lifestyle that would expose him to the finest musical traditions and most sophisticated audiences throughout the continent. The success of these early performances established Wolfgang's reputation as a miraculous child prodigy, while providing him with invaluable experience in diverse musical environments and performance conditions. The tour also demonstrated the family's commitment to Wolfgang's career and their willingness to sacrifice personal comfort and stability for his artistic development. The grand tour of the European courts that began in 1763 represented the most ambitious phase of Wolfgang's childhood career, as the family spent over 3 years traveling to Paris, London, Vienna, and other major cultural centers where Wolfgang performed for royalty, aristocrats, and musical connoisseurs. These experiences exposed him to the finest musical traditions of each region while providing opportunities to study with renowned teachers and interact with leading composers and performers. The tour's success established Wolfgang as an international celebrity while providing him with a comprehensive musical education that no single location could have offered. The intellectual and artistic stimulation of the Grand Tour was balanced by significant challenges, including health problems, financial uncertainties, and the psychological pressures of constant performance and public scrutiny. Wolfgang's ability to maintain his musical development and creative productivity despite these difficulties demonstrated both his exceptional resilience and his profound dedication to musical expression. The tours also revealed the complex dynamics within the Mozart family as they balanced Wolfgang's needs with practical considerations of career advancement and financial survival. Wolfgang's compositional development during his childhood tours revealed the rapid maturation of his creative abilities as he progressed from simple keyboard pieces and songs to sophisticated symphonies, concertos, and chamber music that demonstrated mastery of classical forms and harmonic language. His first symphonies, composed when he was only 8 years old, displayed not only technical competence but also genuine musical imagination and structural understanding that predicted his later achievements. These early compositions established him as more than a performing prodigy, revealing his potential as a creative artist of the highest caliber. The return to Salzburg in 1766 marked a crucial transition in Wolfgang's development as he moved from the excitement of international touring to the more routine demands of provincial musical life, while continuing his intensive musical education under Leopold's guidance. This period allowed further consolidation of his touring experiences while providing opportunities for sustained compositional work and a deeper study of musical theory and history. The contrast between cosmopolitan touring life and provincial routine created tensions that would influence Wolfgang's attitude towards Salzburg throughout his career. Wolfgang's teenage years were marked by increasingly sophisticated compositional achievements, including his first mature operas, concertos, and chamber music that demonstrated his evolution from child prodigy to serious artistic creator. His Mithridate, composed for La Scala in Milan when he was 14, established his credentials as an opera composer while revealing his intuitive understanding of dramatic expression and vocal writing. These works showed that his abilities were not merely precocious imitations, but genuine creative achievements that could hold their own with the finest contemporary music. The family's subsequent Italian tours between 1769 and 1773 provided Wolfgang with intensive exposure to Italian musical traditions, operatic conventions, and compositional techniques that would profoundly influence his mature style. His studies with Giovanni Battista Martini in Bologna and his admission to the prestigious Accademia Filarmonica demonstrated his growing recognition as a serious composer rather than merely a performing curiosity. The Italian experiences broadened his musical vocabulary while reinforcing his natural affinity for vocal music and dramatic expression. The increasing tensions between Wolfgang and the Salzburg court during his teenage bazaar. The Italian experiences broadened his musical vocabulary while reinforcing his musical. The world seems to pause. Natural affinity for vocal music and dramatic expression. The increasing tensions between Wolfgang, the increasing Buscan, growing artistic independence, and his frustration with the limitations of provincial musical life. His desire for greater artistic freedom and more challenging musical opportunities conflicted with Archbishop Hieronymus von Coloradio's expectations of dutiful service and routine musical production. These tensions foreshadowed the eventual break that would force Wolfgang to seek his fortune as a freelance musician in Vienna. Wolfgang's young adult compositional achievements during the late 1770s and early 1780s demonstrated his evolution toward the mature style that would produce his greatest masterpieces. Works like the Piano Sonata K331, the Symphony No. 31, Paris, and the opera Idomeneo revealed his mastery of classical forms while showcasing his unique voice and artistic personality. These compositions established him as one of Europe's leading composers while preparing the ground for the revolutionary achievements of his Viennese period. The break with Salzburg in 1781 represented both a personal declaration of independence and a professional gamble that would determine the course of Wolfgang's remaining career. His famous dismissal by Archbishop Coloradio's Chamberlain, complete with the legendary kick, symbolized his rejection of the traditional patronage system and his determination to succeed as an independent artist in the emerging commercial musical marketplace. This decision reflected both his confidence in his abilities and his recognition that his artistic vision required freedom from institutional constraints. Wolfgang's establishment in Vienna marked the beginning of the most productive and artistically significant period of his career, as he gained access to the Habsburg capital's sophisticated musical life while enjoying unprecedented creative freedom. His success as a piano virtuoso, his popular subscription concerts, and his growing reputation as a composer provided him with financial independence while allowing him to pursue his most ambitious artistic projects. The Vienna years would produce the works that established his immortal reputation, on including his greatest symphonies, concertos, operas, and chamber music. The marriage between Wolfgang and Constanze Weber in 1782 represented both a personal choice and a practical arrangement that would significantly influence his domestic life and creative output during his mature years. Constanze's musical background and understanding of artistic temperament made her a suitable partner for someone whose career demanded constant travel, irregular income, and intense creative focus. Their relationship, while not without difficulties, provided Wolfgang with emotional support and domestic stability that enabled him to concentrate on his artistic work. Wolfgang's operatic collaborations with Lorenzo da Ponte during the 1780s produced three masterpieces that revolutionized the art form and established new standards for musical drama. The Marriage of Figaro, Don Giovanni, and Casufantut demonstrated his genius for combining sophisticated musical architecture with penetrating psychological insight and masterful dramatic pacing. These operas revealed his unique ability to create music that served dramatic purposes while maintaining absolute musical integrity and structural coherence. The financial and professional difficulties that increasingly plagued Wolfgang's later Vienna years reflected both the practical challenges of freelance musical life and the broader economic and social changes affecting musical patronage in late 18th century Europe. His letters reveal growing anxiety about money, health, and professional recognition while documenting his continued creative productivity despite these pressures. The contrast between his artistic achievements and his practical struggles illustrated the complex relationship between genius and commercial success in the emerging musical marketplace. Wolfgang's final compositional period, roughly from 1788 until died in 1791, produced some of his greatest masterpieces, including his last three symphonies, the Clarinet Concerto, the Magic Flute, and the Unfinished Requiem. These works demonstrated not only his continued creative vitality but also his philosophical and spiritual maturation as he confronted questions of mortality, human nature, and artistic legacy. The profundity and technical mastery of these final compositions established them as pinnacles of classical musical achievement. The mysterious circumstances surrounding Wolfgang's final illness and death have generated centuries of speculation and conspiracy theories while highlighting the tragic waste represented by his early mortality. Medical historians have proposed various diagnoses, ranging from kidney disease to poisoning, but the exact cause remains uncertain. What is clear is that his death at 35 cut short a creative career that was still producing works of unparalleled genius and innovation. The immediate aftermath of Wolfgang's death revealed both the precarious nature of his financial situation and the beginning of the posthumous recognition that would eventually establish him as history's greatest composer. Constance's efforts to preserve and publish his works, supported by admirers like Baron van Swieten, ensured that his musical legacy would survive and flourish. The quick recognition of his genius by subsequent composers, including Beethoven, Haydn, and Schubert, validated contemporary assessments of his extraordinary abilities. The influence of Wolfgang's music on subsequent classical composition cannot be overstated, as virtually every major composer of the 19th and 20th centuries acknowledged his inspiration and studied his techniques. His synthesis of Goënt elegance with profound emotional expression created a musical language that has remained relevant and moving across multiple historical periods and cultural contexts. The continuing popularity of his music with both professional musicians and general audiences demonstrates its universal appeal and enduring artistic validity. The development of Mozart scholarship during the 19th and 20th centuries has revealed the extraordinary scope and consistency of his artistic achievement while documenting the historical and cultural contexts that shaped his creative development. The systematic cataloguing of his works by Ludwig von Kuckel and subsequent scholars has provided a comprehensive understanding of his compositional evolution and artistic priorities. Modern analytical techniques have revealed the sophistication, technical procedures underlying his seemingly effortless musical surfaces. The performance history of Wolfgang's music reflects changing aesthetic values and performance practices, while demonstrating the adaptability of his compositions to diverse interpretive approaches. From the historically informed performance movement to modern orchestral traditions, musicians have found in his works opportunities for both scholarly recreation and creative interpretation. The continuing vitality of his music in contemporary performance demonstrates its essential humanity and artistic permanence. The cultural impact of Wolfgang's legacy extends far beyond classical music to influence popular culture, education, and artistic thinking throughout the world. His image as the archetypal musical genius has shaped public understanding of creativity and artistic achievement, while his music has provided a common cultural reference point across national and linguistic boundaries. The Mozart phenomenon demonstrates the power of exceptional artistic achievement to transcend historical circumstances and speak directly to human experience. The genetic studies of musical ability that have emerged from modern scientific research provide intriguing insights into the biological foundations of Wolfgang's extraordinary talents. while raising questions about the relative contributions of heredity and environment to exceptional achievement. The clustering of musical abilities within the Mozart family suggests genetic components to musical talent. While the intensive educational environment provided by Leopold demonstrates the crucial role of nurture in developing exceptional abilities to their full potential. The economic analysis of Wolfgang's career has revealed the transition from traditional patronage systems to commercial musical markets that characterized late 18th century musical life. His experiences as both a chord musician and a freelance artist illustrated the opportunities and challenges created by this transformation, while demonstrating the continuing importance of aristocratic support even in emerging commercial environments. His financial difficulties reflected broader changes in musical economics that affected many contemporary musicians. The psychological studies of Wolfgang's personality and creative processes have attempted to understand the mental characteristics that enabled his extraordinary productivity and consistent quality of output. His ability to conceive complete musical works mentally before writing them down suggests exceptional working memory and spatial intelligence, while his rapid compositional pace indicates unusual facility with musical syntax and structure. These abilities, combined with his obvious emotional sensitivity and intellectual curiosity, created the optimal combination for musical genius. The educational implications of Wolfgang's development have influenced music pedagogy and talent development programs throughout the world. Leopold's systematic approach to musical education, combining technical training with broad cultural exposure and performance experience, has provided a model for nurturing exceptional musical abilities. However, the intensity and sacrifice required by Wolfgang's education have also raised questions about the costs of developing extreme talent in childhood. The technological analysis of Wolfgang's compositional techniques using computer-assisted analysis has revealed patterns and procedures in his music that were not apparent to earlier scholars. These studies have documented his sophisticated use of motivic development, harmonic progression, and formal structure, while revealing the mathematical relationships underlying his musical architecture. Such research has enhanced appreciation for the technical sophistication that underlies his seemingly natural musical expression. The international reception of Wolfgang's music has varied across cultures and historical periods, while generally maintaining recognition of his exceptional achievement. His music's adaptation to different cultural contexts demonstrates its universal appeal, while specific performance traditions in various countries have emphasized different aspects of his artistic personality. The global popularity of his music reflects its ability to communicate across cultural boundaries while maintaining its distinctive character. The preservation and dissemination of Wolfgang's musical legacy through recordings, broadcasts, and digital media has made his music more widely available than any composer in history, while raising questions about authentic performance, practice, and interpretive tradition. The availability of multiple recordings of his major works has created unprecedented opportunities for comparative study, while documenting the evolution of performance styles and aesthetic approaches over time. The commercial exploitation of Wolfgang's image and music has created both opportunities for broader public engagement with his artistic legacy and concerns about the trivialization of his achievement through commercial marketing. The use of his music in advertising, film soundtracks, and popular entertainment has introduced his compositions to audiences who might not otherwise encounter classical music. While sometimes divorcing the music from its original artistic contexts and purposes, the academic study of Wolfgang's life and works has generated an enormous scholarly literature that has illuminated virtually every aspect of his personal and artistic development. The interdisciplinary approach of contemporary Mozart scholarship, combining musicological analysis with historical research, psychological study, and cultural investigation, has provided a comprehensive understanding of his achievement while revealing the complex factors that contributed to his extraordinary creativity. The comparative study of Wolfgang with other musical geniuses has revealed both unique aspects of his achievement and common characteristics of exceptional creative ability. His combination of technical mastery, emotional expression, and structural innovation distinguishes him from contemporaries, while his productivity and consistency of quality set standards that few subsequent composers have approached. These comparisons have enhanced understanding of the nature of musical genius, while highlighting the specific qualities that made Wolfgang's achievements so remarkable. The influence of Wolfgang's music on music education and amateur musical activity has been profound, as his compositions have provided technical studies and repertoire for countless students while inspiring amateur musicians to pursue higher levels of achievement. The pedagogical value of his music, combining technical challenges with musical rewards, has made his work central to musical training throughout the world. His influence on musical education demonstrates the practical as well as artistic value of his compositional legacy. The therapeutic applications of Wolfgang's music in medical and psychological treatment have documented the healing power of exceptional artistic achievement, while providing evidence for music's beneficial effects on human health and well-being. The use of his compositions in music therapy, stress reduction, and cognitive enhancement demonstrates the practical benefits of artistic excellence, while suggesting neurological and psychological mechanisms underlying aesthetic experience. The technological innovations in music composition and performance that have emerged since Wolfgang's era have created new possibilities for understanding and experiencing his music, while raising questions about the relationship between traditional artistic achievement and contemporary creative methods. Computer analysis of his compositions, digital sound synthesis of historical instruments, and virtual reality performance environments have provided new insights into his artistic methods, while creating novel ways of experiencing his musical legacy. The philosophical implications of Wolfgang's achievement for understanding human creativity, artistic value, and cultural meaning continue to generate discussion among aestheticians, cultural theorists, and philosophers of art. His music's combination of structural sophistication and emotional immediacy challenges simple distinctions between form and content, while its enduring appeal across cultural boundaries suggests universal aspects of aesthetic experience. The continuing relevance of his artistic vision demonstrates the permanent value of exceptional creative achievement. The bloodline that began with 17th century German craftsmen and Austrian administrators had produced the supreme musical genius of human civilization, an individual whose creative achievement represents the pinnacle of artistic possibility within the Western musical tradition. The genetic, cultural, and educational factors that converge to create Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart demonstrate the complex interactions between heredity, environment, and individual will that enable extraordinary human achievement. His legacy ensures that the name Mozart will remain synonymous with musical excellence and creative genius for as long as human civilization values artistic beauty and expressive power.